discussion about the role of the executive in policy making. Long years ago, public policy was made exclusively by the executive. ଆମେ ଥରେ ପୁରୁଣା କଥାକୁ ଦେଖିବା ବା ପୁରୁଣା ବର୍ଷ ଗୁଡ଼ାକୁ ଦେଖିବା ଆମର ପବ୍ଲିକ ପଲିସି ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ତିଆରି ହେଉଥିଲା କାହା ଦ୍ୱାରା ନା ଆମ ଏକ୍ଜିକ୍ୟୁଟିଭ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟପାଳିକା ଦ୍ୱାରା ପବ୍ଲିକ ପଲିସି ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ତିଆରି ହେଉଥିଲା. With the growth of legislature, the policy making functions is now being shared by different organs of the political system. In countries with the separation of powers like the US, executive policy making and legislative policy making remain theoretically separated functions, but it is tied together by the fact that Congress makes laws often proposed by the executive. In countries like Great Britain and France, introduction of a parliamentary government was meant to make the executive policy makers responsible to the elected legislative policy makers. Consequently, both executive and legislative policy making in England are now controlled by one cohesive group of party leaders. The cabinet winning to the enormous increase in the governmental functions and consequent bureaucracy. The significance of executive policy making today is greater than ever. The executive is now playing a vital role in the drafting means ତାକୁ ଗଠନ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, initiating and guiding legislation. However, executive policy making can be analyzed with reference to four important aspects like impact of the executive organ on policy making, the areas in which executive rule making and the varieties of executive legislative relations in regard to policy making. Effectively of the executive in policy making largely depends on the patrons and form the executive organization. In the presidential form of executive like the UK and the Prime Minister of the UK, the German Chancellor and the Prime Minister of India really decided the policies when the British Queen, President of France, fourth Republic President of Germany only risen as a symbolic of continuity of national honor and of unity. A second important structure aspect of executive that matters for policy making, it is specialization along the functional lines. For instance, in the USA, various departments have been established and each department has within it a number of bureaus. The British ministry is composed of some 17 agencies, of which about 70 or 80 make up a typical cabinet today. The French Council of Ministers has become composed of about 20 ministers, while West German cabinet consists of some 16 to 18 ministers. It should be clear from this comparison that executive policy making requires the some functional divisions of work that have produced topical committees in the legislature. Save the UK, it is in these individual ministries or agencies that most policies originated or worked out in detail. At this stage, the individual ministry sets the policy as it likes, and the interested groups of pressure groups also communicate their demands at this level. Executive coordination plays an important role in regard to policy making. Such coordination occurs generally in three ways, namely a political coordination by the executive leader, the second, coordination of departmental policies by cabinet committees or councils. Then third, coordination of the executive by centralization of budgetary powers. All these help in shaping the public policies that can cater to larger public needs. Now the question is, which are the areas that come exclusively under the executive to make policies? Through the executive drafts many of the legislative programs which legislature enacts, there are extensive fields of executive activity in which there is very little reliance on legislative authorization. Then next, for example, the relation to the field of foreign affairs and defense, most crucial decisions for the survival of the country are made exclusively by executive officials. In the modern world, there are many instances of the executive making rules and laws which have similar force as the legislative laws. For example, there are essentially three kinds of legal directives that can be found most within system of government, namely general power of issuing law like decrees or ordinance. Second, power of filling in the details of duly enacted legislation. And third, administrative rules relating to the management of administration. Then next we discuss about the role of a judiciary in the policy making. It is said that judges maintain the whole legal order, whereas the policy makers only amended in small ways. Living in a human community requires adherence to certain basic rules of conduct. There are different laws like private laws and civil laws, fiscal laws, social insurance laws, etc. In the modern legal system, in this regard, we are bound to refer to the Roman law and the common law, which have much in common. It should be noted that laws and the courts of law are vital aspects of the total policies process. This point has to be emphasized chiefly because of two reasons. Liberal democratic theory was traditionally put a premium on the necessity of protecting the citizen from a top power state and has therefore emphasized the impartialities of the judicial process to increase the independence of the judiciary and deepen the respect and confidence with which judicial decisions are reached. Then secondly, it has given importance to the different aspects of the doctrine of the separation of powers. While discussing on the role of a judiciary in policy-making process, we have to focus on the following four important areas. The nature of law. First four important areas. What are they? The nature of a law and its relationship with the political decision making. The structure of the courts and the selection of a personnel. The function of the courts and the nature of the external control and the relation of a citizen to the legal process. In liberal democratic system, the legal system is said to be characterized by such concepts as impartiality, consistency, openness, predictability, and stability. In such systems, rule of law plays a prominent role, and it is argued that such features of the federal system are not present in socialistic and autocratic states, but the distinctions seem to be more relative than absolute. Liberal democratic system can grant extraordinary powers to government during emergency, and it is possible to have predictable legal rules and due processes of law in autocratic system. For instance, the legal theories of Prussian states and liberal democratic system in 19th century Europe seem to underline the fact that the difference are of degree rather than of kind. Legal structures, on the other hand, differ according to several factors. Federalism may necessitate parallel courts adjudicated on the federal and state or provincial laws. In the USA, for example, federal courts extend into the every state alongside state courts with the Supreme Court as the apex of both systems. In Britain, there are no separated administrative and constitutional courts, but above the lowest courts there are, as in the France, separated civil and criminal courts with separate courts of appeal. And the hours of laws in the highest court of appeal, the structure of the legal system is important for some of the functions of the courts, such as those concerned with the increasing powers of the central government and for the protection of administrative and civil rights. But for the wider range of functions, the principle underlying the selections of the judiciary have more significance, and the procedures for selecting and discriminating judges and the background of the receipts are more crucial factors in assigning the degree of independence and in evaluating the political behavior of judges. Judges may be appointed by the government, elected or cooperated by few judges. They also vary in the extent of their legal training and in their qualification. Functions of the judiciary in regard to policy making can be analyzed under four important sets, namely judicial review and interpretation of the Constitution, then second, arbitration between the separate institutions in the political process, then third, general support for the existing political system, and fourth, the protection of individual rights. It is through the judicial review and the interpretation of the existing laws, the judicial contributes to the formulation of new policies as well as in the amending the existing laws. The courts sometimes direct the government to act in a particular way while deciding various cases. This provides wide scope to the judiciary to create situations for formulation of specific policies and their implementation in the particular manner. It is therefore clear that the legislature, the executive and the judiciary have their own role in regard to the policy making. Thank you to all, and